Beginning from the Tudor period, the Tower of London was in fact relatively little used as a residence by the sovereign. Nevertheless, some attempts to improve the palace buildings were made. Henry VII added a new gallery and a new garden between 1501 and 1506. These works created a second court to the east, with a new gallery intersecting the gardens in the fashionable continental style. The royal chapel was destroyed by fire in 1512 and rebuilt shortly after. It is best known as the burial place of some of the most famous prisoners of the Tower, including three queens, namely Anne Boleyn, Catherine Howard and Lady Jane Grey. In 1530, the White Tower's corner turrets received their iconic onion-shaped dome roofs. In the southwestern corner of the inner ward, the Queen's house was built by King Henry VIII, probably for Queen Anne Boleyn, but she lived there only as a prisoner for 18 days awaiting her execution. During the reign of King James I, it was converted into a mint. Later, it became a storage space for the crown jewels and the role it still serves today. Historic plans of the Tower of London also show a building at the site next to the Queen's house. It was used at the time as a guardhouse and a private place for executions of high-born prisoners. By 1540s, medieval storages were in perilous state and therefore a dedicated storehouse was ordered to be constructed. The Ordnance Storehouse, built in 1545, was one of the largest structures within the castle, spanning across the full width of the inner ward and north of the White Tower. After King Henry VIII's death, up until the 19th century, English monarchs stayed at the tower no more than a few days. The Office of Ordnance and the Office of Armoury, which oversaw the tower's function as an arsenal and a stronghold, became the most influential occupants of the castle. By the middle of the 17th century, most of the royal lodgings were abandoned. In 1639, the medieval Great Hall was converted into storage for guns, carriages and other equipment. Other buildings were also adapted, as the need for storing gunpowder was ever growing. Concerns were raised over safety of storing such a great amount of explosive materials, but no action was taken. In 1664, an iconic new armouries building was constructed in the empty space previously used as a garden. The new armouries is the oldest surviving Office of Ordnance storehouse in the country and represents a unique architectural style of the late 1600s. It has survived to this day, currently housing the Castle Cafe. In In 1666, a devastating fire swept through London, destroying 13,200 houses, 87 parish churches, the Royal Exchange, Guildhall and St Paul's Cathedral. In the event, the tower was undamaged, but had the flames reached the White Tower and its vast stocks of gunpowder, the resulting explosion would have rendered demolition beyond all expression for several miles. To isolate the castle from future danger, a safety corridor was created around the White Tower. As a result, between 1670 and 1676, most buildings of the innermost ward were demolished, including the medieval Cold Harbour Gate and the Old Fore building. The medieval bulwark was dismantled in 1670. The Lion Tower was also refurbished so that visitors could see more of the animals prowling around their circular yard. In 1684, a retaining wall was built to prevent silting of the castle's moat. The tower's military capability was a major cause for concerns, and in a final attempt to improve it, the towers were raised and some 140 cannons mounted on them. A futile attempt at bolstering the tower's defence, as the castle walls were too weak to stand against artillery fire and would not last for 24 hours for a modern-day army prepared for a siege. In 1688, when the Master General of Ordnance was advised of the crazy condition of the 16th century storehouse, it was decided to replace it with a single new structure. Completed in 1692, the new building was of considerable architectural pretension. The 18th century was a period of rapid growth for the City of London. The population exploded with early signs of the Industrial Revolution. London's growth was at the centre of the evolving British Empire. In a contrast to the massive expansion of the City of London, the early years of the 18th century at the Tower were relatively quiet. Smaller scale renovations took place, such as enlarging medieval openings and installing modern windows and doorways with ornamental arches. The artillery platforms from the previous century were also dismantled. The tower yet again lost its prominence as the greatest arsenal in the country. Other places were better positioned to supply the operations of the expanding overseas empire. However, the tower was still headquartering the Board of Ordnance, therefore the need for office accommodation grew quickly. The most prominent lodgings from this era was a pair of houses in the northeastern corner of the inner ward, and the so-called Old Hospital Block built between 1701 and 1719. The only other surviving ordnance lodging is the house built in 1735, overlooking Tower Green, now the official residence of the Tower Doctor. The largest operation undertaken in the 18th century was construction of the ordnance offices in the Palace Ward. The clearance included dismantling dilapidated Lanthorn Tower and other medieval structures. The new office was built in neoclassical style, expanded multiple times over the coming years. Additionally, a new gateway was created to the east end, giving access to the wharf. Thank you for watching part 3 of the animated history of the Tower of London. Please like and subscribe, and if you like the work I'm doing and would like to support me further, please feel free to buy me a cup of coffee by clicking the link below.